What is up, everybody? My name is Commander, and welcome back to another episode of Art Survival Evolved. Today, we're on the center map for a good reason. And I do apologize, this is a recording over the recording because I ended up unplugging my mic by just the slightest bit, even though I could still hear it with my headset. So, what we're doing on here is we are building the biggest alpha tribe, the best alpha tribe base you can possibly build on this map. And what you're seeing is that lake down there. We're going to build a base that floats entirely over this. I've talked about it before. We've used these mechanics before, and I'm going to show you how to build it here on this map, right over this lake. I mean, it's going to float over this thing, and it's going to be held up by multiple pillars in the end. But that's just for structural integrity. You could build this with wood pillars and do one pillar holding the whole thing up, and this whole structure could float. It depends on what you're doing on your server. Are you looking for structural integrity? Are you looking for, is this a battling server? If this is a battling server, then this spot is something you'd want to build with very expensive tech or metal technology, and you want to make sure you have a lot of it. You're going to want to reinforce things a lot more. But if you're just trying to have a pretty base to have, then build the base, which is maybe a wood pillar holding it up or something like that. You can be real cheap and less expensive. We did that on the center map. I didn't have to have all that right off the bat, and when it came to War Day, the base fell, but without War Day, it was just a pretty base. So I'm going to show you how to build this base right here on that spot. So I will go ahead and get started and bring you all back. Okay guys, welcome back, and I'm going to tell you right now, I messed up a few times with this section of the video right here. What I was trying to do is do this without leaving the nub. If you don't care about the nub, this is it can get a lot easier. This can get a lot easier if you don't care about the nub sticking out in the structure. You're not going to see it all over your place anyway, but you are going to see it on the bridges that we're about to build. We're going to build some bridges that help extend the base and get you onto it with your ground dinos. As you can see, all you need is a foundation, a pillar, and a ceiling. That's what you need to start with. And what you're going to do from here is you're going to snap additional ceilings out, drop a pillar all the way down to the next snap point onto the ground. The idea is to reach the bottom of the ground there where the lake is and put the pillar all the way into the ground. Alright guys, this is where you're going to see me make my first mistake here. I start taking all this down because I don't need all this stuff, I assume. I'm trying to remove that nub. I did not get 100% done with this before I realized that I no longer needed the nub. I was covering the nub by, I pulled all the structures out and started to place ceilings down on top of them, and then didn't realize that this is an individual single bridge and not all the pillars are going to be down at the bottom. So what you're seeing right now is the ceiling sitting on top, and this is where I started to realize I messed up. Basically what I did was I moved everything up, and right here the pillars unfortunately still have to connect with the ceiling. And you might be like, still have to connect with the ceiling? What do you mean? Well, you'll catch on a little later. But basically what you'll want to do is make sure you start this project in wood or thatch, preferably the cheapest material that you can manage. If wood's easier, do it in wood, but make sure the only thing you want to 100% make sure that you do is make in the main material you're going to build in is the pillars. The pillars are the worst to replace. They are almost impossible. I dropped sections of this base when I did this on my own. I built them in wood, then tried to upgrade them to metal, and I even tried to upgrade some to stone at some point, and I would wind up breaking entire sections, and the pillar wouldn't even snap onto where the old pillar, it wouldn't replace, it would sometimes snap over it, sometimes it wouldn't even connect for some reason. It was weird, and I could not explain why. It just wouldn't do it. So one of the big things is make sure you build the pillars solid with the proper material in the first place. Everything else can be built in thatch or wood, because that stuff can be replaced pretty easily, and it's hard to mis-snap a ceiling and put it on top of another one. I mean, it can happen. I've seen it happen, but it's very rare. And so you're not gonna like snap a ceiling just slightly above where you don't see, and everything's gonna fall. So that's not gonna happen this way. But so make sure you do the pillars in a solid material. Everything else kind of like testing material, template material is the best way to put it. And you can see right there, this is where I realized I messed up. I see a nub sticking out, and here it is. If I want to get rid of these nubs, I would have to raise it. And I thought, well, maybe I could fix it some other way. And then I was like, no, you can't fix it because there is no way to fix it. I might have been able to fix it, but it would be a real pain. So I just ended up scrapping all this and redoing it. We're going to go ahead and step down to the next part just so you can see actually how this goes. Okay, guys, we're coming up to the next part here. I do want to point out at this point, because I realize I haven't mentioned it yet, this is buildable on an official server. This is being done on my single player server where I don't have any of my no clips and all that stuff active. I do have mods on the server that color the dinos. I have S+, but we haven't used anything but the S+ demo gun. That's the only S+ bit we're going to use. And so what we're doing now at this point is we have got a pillar run to the ground. And this is about the level you want to build it at. I'm going to make a mistake here, and I've done it in the past, and I got it to work out somehow, but I started to realize my problem later because it came down to the point when I was redoing it. And actually, I think I was able to fix it in the end, like I did in this one as well, but I would step down in the water to save material cost on pillars. It is better to play this whole thing even. How you can see these pillars right here that I'm snapping, they're all on the same level. They all snap the same way except for that one that messed up. But basically what you're going to do is snap all the pillars the same way. If you start snapping the pillars any other way, you can disturb the whole process and it may not line up when you come up on the other side. So what you've got to do is make sure to clear the debris. Here we go. Clear more. You got to watch your snaps, so you are going to possibly lose some stuff, so be very careful with this, and you can see we've got a problem there. And I'm so used to the no clip, I figured I should have been able to build over it, and well, there you go, I couldn't. So guys, this is where we start stepping down, and you can see it definitely does save me some pillars, although I got a little careless as well down here, like, oh, I don't have to worry about this. Actually, you really do. This is something you need to worry about. Make sure you are building on that flat level. I mean, you can work this in the right way to do it and get it to work. I did it, I believe. I'm not sure. But whatever I did or I didn't do, I don't remember. It's been so long ago. It's been over a year since I built this base. So I haven't been back to the center in that long. It's been a while since I've been to the center. But what you can see here is me snapping the stuff down. And I keep lowering down to fit in the water in order to save pillars and reduce that lag that comes from this base. This base will put a lot of strain on your computer. So if you're okay with that, that's cool. But if you're not okay with that, you got to do it a different way. Also, make sure when you're down here, bring a scuba tank, because this is something that you're going to spend a long time down here. This entire build with the resources was over 2 hours and 30 minutes of building, and that was with mistakes and everything. And I had the structures available. I was able to admin cheat fly. You're going to have to build this with normal character abilities, pterodons, quetzals, going underwater and having to breathe. I don't have to do that, so this base build is going to take you even longer than it's going to take me to build. So make sure you bring all that stuff along with you just to make your build a little faster. Okay guys, so you can kind of see what this looks like at this point. You can see all the guts it looks like. Now you could have just flattened all this out, made it all straight, make it look nice and pretty, or you can leave it look like this guts like it is right now and see the lines. You can even see I missed some gaps. This gets really confusing when you get down there, especially when you start stepping down, you start missing things, and as well as when you're trying to get a certain particular thing done, like making this turn to get the other bridge up. I made a lot of, I left a gap there. I didn't even realize I left the gap until later. But what you can see is I kind of got everything going up, and then I run the pillar up on this side all the way to the top, and you can see there are nubs on this side. Well, that's kind of expected, right? Well, I mean, I'm not sure if I was supposed to have nubs at this point. No, yeah, I was supposed to have nubs. I definitely was supposed to have nubs. But the problem is, this whole structure came up about half a pillar, a little over half a pillar too short, or a little under half a pillar too short. And I tried to step it up and everything else to fix it, could not fix it. So make sure you build it flat and even, and you won't have my problem. And you can see I have to still run a few pillars because some of this stuff does not actually make contact with the ground. And some of this stuff, just like this one right here that you're seeing me put down right now, trying to spam down as fast as possible. Again, this is much easier as an admin. Um, I couldn't even get a ceiling, so I had to stretch another pillar all the way down, which is helpful because this means there's a secondary support that's holding this whole thing up. But of course, it's on the side of the bridge that is away from the base, which makes it real easy to destroy. And again, if you're on that server that's a battle server, you're going to have to kind of play around with that, try and fix it, and keep it from getting broken. But once you snap that on there, what you can do is something more like this. So guys, here we are right on top. I'm sitting here trying to get myself kind of situated at this point, and we're abusing that mechanic at this point. This is the same mechanic you use when you build your house that keeps you from having to have pillars every 2 spaces. Your foundations below you are supporting the structures, and all you had to do was have connected by a single wall. Although normally you build a box, so it has multiple walls connecting, so it doesn't feel like you're breaking the game or doing something wrong. This is absolutely not wrong. It's a fundamental mechanic of the game, and you're not doing anything wrong by doing this. So what you can see is I'm just able to snap ceilings. You can't even see anything else done. I mean, there's no pillars sticking up on them or anything. Absolutely nothing. And I'm just snapping ceilings. And I know I'm going to come up on the side here. I look, and I actually come up one short. I should have gone right there. But you can see I'm not snapping pillars. There are no pillars where I'm going. And I can just walk across. And then I ran out of ceilings. So I will take us first. So guys, as you can see, I established a complete structure here. I got the first thing I stress is get that bridge correct in the first place. If you get it correct, this becomes a lot easier. As you can see, there was a little piece poking out on the left here. If I spin around again, will I spin around? Apparently not for a little bit at least. But I built the bridge first, checked the bridge, made sure the bridge reached across because that's the most important part. Because once that's done, everything else is going to just kind of snap together anyway. And so getting that line for the bridge, and you can do it all with one. You don't have to build a wide bridge in the beginning. Maybe build a skinny bridge and then work with the bridge from there, just to make sure you get it. Make sure you get the end pieces done correctly because you don't want those uh, pillars maybe going up inside the structure like we've seen previously. But you can see there's that extra piece down below. That's where the bridge didn't line up. That actually, the bottom section actually had come from the bridge and reached back to the original point, and that's when I found out that I was off. And so what I did was I came from the original point and just built off of it anyway because everything was snapped to it anyway. Well, when I got over to the end on the other side, everything was still kind of snapped together. I don't exactly know how I managed to get it because I think the ceilings wanted to float a little. There was some way that it's still technically connected, is what it is. That's what it was, because even though they were floating above, it's still using the same mechanic. The pillars were still beneath them. I never took down the pillars or the structure directly underneath it, because if I did, I would remove that interconnected web that is what's holding the ceiling up. So as you can see, you can kind of see a nice pretty little thing. I mean, it's not very pretty from underneath. It costs some resources to do, and it's very ugly down below, but that's kind of what it is. I mean, we're pretty on the outside. We're not pretty on the inside. What makes us work is all the guts and stuff, and that's what we got going on here. We're starting to get some guts going to make sure this thing works and actually doesn't drop you to the ground. And you can see the guts down there, but we're not done. Obviously, we've got some stuff. We've got this built, but this isn't the end of the base. There's a lot more to the base in this because right now, as it stands, it's not enough. It really is not enough. You got to do more to this base, otherwise it will fall in any battle sense. So right now you're seeing a lot of pillars, and what you're going to use these pillars mainly for is to build a cage. You don't have to solidly pack pillars underneath the thing, but you definitely need to build this outer cage in any sort of battle sense. Uh, More pillars is always better. I mean, a full support would be nice, but these pillars, it's 60 pillars down for each one, and this is at least 20 pillars on one side. So you're looking at about 80 pillars. You do the math, 60 times 80 is not a good number. I mean, 6 times 8 is 480. Is 48, then times 10, and then times 10 again. You're looking at 4,800 pillars. That's a lot of pillars. More pillars than I would want to put down. And I actually did this with stone pillars. But you can see all the little nubs caused by this as well. So this has to actually even be done before you establish the no nub section, because already we've established new nubs and now we've got to look at these nubs. Again, if you don't care or you're already too far in, don't worry about it. But make sure you establish, if you don't want to see the nubs, establish the cage and everything with the previous section, the template section, getting those pillars set up, and then come back through and start placing on top of it with your ceilings to fill it out. Uh, like I said, you can test with the bridge to make sure it's across by leaving the nubs alone until afterwards. And then, like I said, just kind of get your cage built. Build your outer jacket. Don't build more than you need, maybe. And then you can come back through and pick it all up. And if you're not too worried about the metal structures, because I mean, as expensive as it was, it's going to be very time consuming to sit there and break every single metal structure. So you might not want to do that. Uh, but what you're going to do is build that cage all the way around this thing, and that's going to keep flyers. And the only thing that's going to get through are people with wingsuits and maybe with climbing pits. But even then, with the climbing pits, they're not going to make it very far because the turrets are going to shred them. And that's the idea. Let the turrets shred the people and anything else that tries to fly through. A pterodon is about the only thing that's going to be able to do it, other than a guy in a wingsuit. And that pterodon is not going to be very helpful in a cage where there are gun nests hanging from the pillars shooting at him, because your goal at this point is to protect the you're protecting this portion of it. You got to protect the guts here. You got to protect the pillars. These outer pillars don't necessarily have to be protected. I mean, they can be broken midway and the whole structure will still stand, but it keeps people from coming in and out with larger items like Quetzals and then coming up underneath your structure and placing C4. That's what this is going to do. So you're going to want to keep some turrets to shoot down rockets. Don't even let them target animals. Let them just target the rockets, so that way it only shoots simple stuff. Or put enough to do the whole job, and that way you don't have to worry about it. But you can see this is kind of what we got, but we need to go on to the next step because we're still not done with this base. All right, guys, so the next step of this is to start placing some gates down in the bottom of the water. Now, you don't need to necessarily place as many as I did. I did them quickly as a quick kind of build a wall deal instead of an actual place down walls like I would actually suggest. I'd suggest getting down there with foundations and placing walls down in there, and then put maybe a gate down so you can go ahead and get your mosas and stuff out. I mean, this can be your C pin down here. It's deep enough for it in some places for sure to store a mosa down here, to store a pleasy or some of your other stuff. You can even store maybe a full-on built naval ship depending on what kind of mods you're running, which I've done in here. I had a boat that sat in here with that was armed to the teeth that just sat there, and I could have rolled it out anytime I ever wanted to. But, well, it's kind of if you want to or don't. But you can place some gates down here if you want, or you can place some gates with some walls. I suggest the walls, so you can also place the turrets, hide some generators inside, and let the generators kick on and have turrets about on the walls to keep people from coming this route, because this is a route people are going to want to push. So you got to make them not want to come this way, and that means they have to come from the top. The biggest fear to this base is a Titan. That's really what is going to make this base any sort of trouble. You're going to want to reinforce in a lot of places. Putting gates down at the bottom is going to keep the Titan from coming from the bottom where he might feel like he's safe. It's also going to slow him down if he has to crash through the gates. You may not be able to do it in tech. You may have to do it in metal, so you might want to do more gates, more thicker armor, thicker walls, anything to slow down that Titan, because you don't want that Titan getting to the innards there and destroying the structure below, because then your entire base will fall. Make sure you build the bottom as a gauntlet of turrets. That's what needs to be down there. Nothing else needs to survive. If you build it as a gauntlet of turrets, you don't have to worry too much. And then what you're going to do is put behemoth gates, as you can see on the bridges there. I multi-stacked the behemoth gates up on top. There's 4 on each one on the inner portion, and then 1 gate on each side. From there, you will add extra walls, things that would obviously postpone attacks and stuff like that, because it's going to be a battle of attrition if they're going to get in here. And so you need to hold them out as long as you can, keep them back, keep them on your field of play, and not let them just storm in here while because you don't have a wall up. You need to make sure you're not being cheap. You need to stretch walls across, cover your bases, make sure nobody is going to just drop down in here and utilize that. Again, you can see I've got a gate there. After that gate, I would probably have another wall. I would have another dino farm out there, just to have a dino farm. And it doesn't hurt to have it out there because it's near the base. You can protect it, maybe build it out of stone or build it out of metal again. Build a wall on that sloped edge, on all the sloped edges around, just so nobody can just drop on in. If somebody does find a spot to drop in down further in the river, they'll be trapped between some of the doors, which if they're trapped between the doors, you can really do some damage by just having some guns all the way around it and position stuff and just have them engage the target and kill it. So that's kind of where this goes at this point. Gates, walls, lots of walls, and then using a lot of turrets with that cage system around to really bring out that whole floating base. You can't get to me, and if you got to blow the bridges, blow the legs off the bridge or blow the bridges connections so they can't get in, do it. Make sure they can't get in. If they've somehow breached the door and they're on the other door, take the bridge out below them or something. Make sure they can't get in. That's, I mean, there you go. They can't get in, and the turrets up top can stay focused on things that do breach the wall or on birds and stuff that are trying to fly over, dropping dinos in. And then the bottom section can be dedicated anti-Titan, anti-other stuff with a whole nother set of guns. Make sure you keep maybe one plantette to keep things slowed down there so the Titan isn't going to run over everything. But make sure you put heavy turrets everywhere. That's really what you're looking at here. A lot of heavy turrets will solve a lot of problems over here. Even just regular turrets will solve the problem, but obviously a bigger turret's better than no turret. And a lot of people might be thinking at this point, well, this base looks absolutely ridiculous. I did this in months. It took me a long time. An alpha tribe that is actively trying to do this could definitely do this. A group of guys that really wants to build this base can build this in no time. I was playing with somebody who didn't want to necessarily mine all the time, just kind of wanted to have fun. I kind of wanted to just have fun sometimes. This was fun to build, but I hated getting out there and mining, so sometimes I would just call it quits on this. And I built mine out of wood first, and it took forever to transfer it over to metal. So this base is not just something you build overnight. This is a full-on, I need people's help to get this done because it will cost a lot of resources, as you can see with what's sitting here. And then it's not even done. You've got these little structures out here, the little bridges, the land bridges where you can put more turrets up to defend against, keep people from getting close to the base, sniping you off of that. Put a generator up there, maybe little bots and everything. Build some pillboxes, something to go ahead and keep people from flying in. The turrets can also be mounted. You can hang some stuff off to the bottom by coming off the top and building something that hangs. So if they try and fly under the bridge, the land bridge, they get shot down. There's a lot of things you can do. I mean, there's no limit to what you can actually. I mean, there is a limit, but there's no limit to what you can do in ARG to make a secure base. And in this spot, you can really build a very secure one. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. I'm sorry I got to leave you on this note, but I got to get back to my server. There is tons of adminning to do. I got to build my battle boats so I can be ready for that competition with the battle boats. So you guys take care, and I'll catch you next time.